Hey there again, folks. Welcome back to my Let's Play of Ever17, the Out of Infinity. And before we get started, I'd like to say thanks to Mr. Dawson. I guess I should. Yeah, well, I guess I timed it well enough. Well enough for that phrase. Even though I'm not saying the proper words in English right now. What do you expect? It's me. I'm assuming that probably most people watching this has probably seen my other videos, so I did something really stupid. I upgraded from Windows 8 to Windows 8.1, and that breaks this game. From what I saw from other people, it breaks other games. I think somebody had trouble with Black Ops 2. I will never play that game, so no problem on my part. But anyway, so if you want to play this game, if you're playing it, do not upgrade to Windows 8.1. It has something to do with it reading fonts or detecting fonts or something like that. So, yeah, one of the solutions to a link that they sent me was you have to use it. You have to load up the exe file. You see, I took a whole day off, and now I can't talk at all. From this, like this really helps me talk anyway. You have to load up the exe file in a hex editor and change it. Luckily they had somebody had actually altered it, and I downloaded it. It worked. I don't guess it had viruses. My desktop hasn't been converted to a bunch of penises, so that's what viruses do, right? They mess up your desktop to have a lot of penises on it, right? Luckily, I've never got a virus like that. But anyway, there probably are. Hopefully, I never get infected with that one. But anyway, it worked. It works. As you're seeing, it's working. I was planning on having to put my old computer in the living room, along with a monitor that luckily I kept when I bought this TV that I'm using as a monitor now, and using it since it's already set up to play this game. I mean, that's what I played it on for months anyway, so. But I'm glad I don't have to move stuff around and clutter up the living room any with stuff. So yeah, here we are again. That's over with. Moral of the story that's taken 3 minutes to tell. Don't upgrade to Windows 8.1 if you play older games, because I'm guessing that has something to do with it, possibly. And thanks to Mr. Dawson for letting this keep rolling as it was. So, as I sank deeper and deeper, let's get on with it, yeah. As I sank deeper and deeper, it felt as if I were running fast with the wind against my face. The seawater pressed hard on my eardrum. Oh, and when I'm using a new exe file, so I had to readjust some of the settings, sound settings, so hopefully it's not too loud. If it is, let me know. I can't remember exactly what I had it set on before. I know that ones weren't low enough on some of it, and I had to actually go into the mixer here, you know, that you have to click on the speaker down at the bottom of the screen. Go into a mixer and drag it down a bit, so hopefully it'll not be too bad. Oh, let's hit enter. Not what is that, shield? And it will pop my ears because I held heaven in my arms. I simply endured the pain. Blood pressure incredibly high. I squeezed my body. Felt as if my joints were about to snap into pieces. My chest felt as though it would be crushed. Deeper, deeper, deeper. The deeper I went, the more the water pressure rose. My lungs could not stand it. I decided to open my mouth. The air in my lungs came out and a large amount of water poured into them. I automatically gagged and started to choke. Even then, cold seawater filled my windpipe. As my lungs filled up with water, I felt despair welling up inside of me. How far had I gone? I looked up and saw the water surface far above. I couldn't go back now. I looked below. Couldn't see anything. There was only blue-black darkness. Couldn't see the bottom of the ocean yet. No matter how fast I sank, 357 feet was still very long. I went deeper and deeper, but scenery was unchanged. Darkness. Darkness. A world covered in darkness. It occurred to me that I might just be swallowed by some deep ocean trench and keep falling forever. I began to feel desperate. I think that's a natural feeling to feel in such a situation. This is a very responsible being from the fourth dimension. Because he'd probably live, if Hokuto died, and then Takushi would be revived, and he'd be like, hey, I get to meet my son that I found out about right before I went, oh, he drowned. That sucks. Yeah, very responsible. Blickwinkle, I have no part in this, by the way. I know it's supposed to be like a fourth wall breaking thing, that I'm supposed to be Blickwinkle, but I did not choose for him to jump in the ocean. Disclaimer. That's a disclaimer if he dies. The only positive thing that was somehow the pain had disappeared. Sometimes that's a bad thing when you're in such a predicament. Felt that my conscious mind could still be clear as the sense of pain had numbed. I realized that for the first time in my life. Hey, wait. To begin with, the body I was in belonged not to me, but to Hokuto. Thinking about that, I felt guilty. I need to return it in one piece. I couldn't see the bottom yet. My brain was running out of oxygen and I started to lose consciousness. My limbs were numb. The numbness soon turned to spasms. Against my will, my limbs started to go wild. I almost dropped heaven. Quickly pulled it close to me and held it tighter to my chest. Going deeper, deeper, and deeper. I must have looked like a priest at an exorcism gone wrong, possessed by an evil spirit, my whole body twitching wildly. Clonk. The description he just gave isn't completely inaccurate when you think about it. Hit a rock surface and it had stopped going down. Sploosh! I burst forth from the water surface with great force. Putting my face above the pool, I started coughing hard, trying to expel all of the seawater in my lungs. I grabbed the rim of the pool. I took a deep, deep breath. I coughed hard as I was breathing in and chucked up a large amount of water. I repeated that a few times. Rinse and repeat. I now really understood the suffering Takushi had gone through. I crawled up weakly onto the floor. Phew! There was no time to relax. I started running towards the examination room. Because, really, they've been sleeping there for 17 years. If they wait another moment, people will die, Lots of people will die if they hold on for like a few hours to get there in the proper manner, with a proper submersible, yeah, they've only been there for 17 years. It had been 17 years since I had last been there. And that pod's open. Hopefully it's not one of them. I felt the heaviness of all the past years as I smelled the stale odor in the room. The paint on the capsule pod had partially peeled off and the surface of it was rough and weathered. Manipulating the computer terminal, I checked on the status of the pods. Both Coco and Takushi were safe. Under cryogenic suspension, their body temperatures had kept at about 40 degrees Fahrenheit, with their heart rates and breathing reduced to only a few times a minute. They seemed to be in good health. The cryogenic suspension device seemed to have worked properly without a single glitch for 17 years. I deactivated the hibernation program for both of the pods. Finally, Coco and Takushi were set to awaken at any time. First, I opened Coco's pod. Coco. Coco. Wake up, Coco. Wake up. That'd be horrible. Coco. It's me, Coco. I came to save you. Oh. Well, this is good then. I was, in the last day, I was thinking that perhaps she was actually dead and she was a ghost, because that would be one of the logical explanations for him seeing her in 2034 as an apparition, so. Yay! She's not a ghost! She's not dead. Yes. I kept my promise, didn't I? I wonder if she's blind. I wonder if she could avoid a Sarlacc death. Yeah, some people will think I'm stupid for that joke, and they're probably right. Coco rubbed her eyelids and blinked repeatedly. Is she happy or she's fixing to sneeze? Okay, she's happy. Coco jumped up and hugged me. Oh wait, was it actually Hokuto that she had hugged? Was it me or was it Hokuto? Was it Hokuto who wasn't me, or was it me who wasn't Hokuto? This is the time to be confused about that. I did not fully understand, but still, I hugged Coco tightly too. I know. I know. He says I know I'm quitting this game right now. Uh-huh. They see Coco. I'm not your brother, actually. Where is that written? Coco stepped away from me. Coco and I stared at each other as we were drawn to each other. Sure. Remember, Hokuto's here too, so. What's the dude that she just called her brother in some manner? That's strange. Which, when you think about it, in another reality, Sarah was flirting with Hokuto, so weird. I was that's kind of a. I'm not gonna make two Star Wars references here. You know, it was, you know, like that really awkward scene with Luke and Leia in the Empire Strikes Back, you know? What? My heart skipped a few beats. Well, but I still, It all started to make sense to me. That is great. Coco and I have been sharing the same time. Must have been sharing experiences with Coco through Takshi's point of view. It always been by Coco's side. I don't think so, really. What? Before I got a chance to ask her back, Coco jumped into my arms again. Coco had regained all of her strength. Maybe the antibody had kicked in while she was under cryogenic suspension. Whatever it was, I was relieved. My heart was filled with waves of happiness. It had taken me a while, but it was finally Takshi's turn. Gave the body back over to Hokuto since I wanted them to have a family moment. Hokuto opened Takshi's pod. All of a sudden, Takeshi opened his eyes. He looked around confused. Takeshi realized that Hokuto's face was in front of him and said, Takeshi took a close look at Hokuto's face. He looked over Hokuto's whole body. He closed his eyes tightly and started banging his forehead with his palm. He opened his eyes and glared at the examination room wall. And Takeshi gasped as if he realized something and looked at Hokuto again. Raising his voice like a child, Hokuto rubbed his face against Takeshi's chest. Takeshi pushed back Hokuto. Takeshi tapped Hokuto on the back. Takeshi raised himself and stretched his legs outside the pod. Coco rushed at him. Coco hastily jumped at Takeshi and hugged him. Hokuto jumped at Takeshi and hugged him just like Coco. Takeshi forcefully peeled him away. Hokuto and Coco closed their eyes and shook their heads. Hokuto and Coco looked at each other, nodded and said, You want to know a thought that I just thought of with all this right here? I don't know if this is actually told in this game, but here is a thought. What about Takeshi's parents? They probably were quite worried for a long time, looking for Takeshi, thinking he was alive. Then they finally probably like, he must be dead. Then he's gonna show up now and be like, hey parents, hey mom and dad, here's my wife, here's my kids, I don't know what Coco's gonna be to him. She'll be in the picture somewhere. So I'm wondering how that story is gonna happen. That would be quite an amusing thing to think about, because be suddenly like them getting their son and the whole family at the same time. They would take some readjusting, I'm sure. After a while, Ibise Harukana took a small submersible to pick us up at IBF pool. Inside the mini-sub, she scolded Hokuto. I was actually just thinking the same thing. She kept picking on Hokuto until they reached the surface. Hokuto must have been thinking, it wasn't really me who decided to jump into the ocean. The whole time, Takushi still hadn't accepted the fact that he had been sleeping for 17 years. No matter how many times they tried to explain, he just wouldn't listen. Therefore, Takushi still couldn't believe that Hokuto was truly his son. Under the bright sunlight, Takushi, Koko, Hokuto, and Pipi were hanging around.
Ohayo. で、いい言葉だよな。しっかり起きて頑張らなきゃなって気持ちになるんだ。そうだね。じゃあココもおはよう、タケちゃん。ああ、おはようココ。じゃあ僕もおはよう、お父さん。おはよう、息子。息子？そんなもん俺にはいないんだ。じゃあ何か？俺はこの年で2児の父親だってのか？そうだよ。だってそうなんだからしょうがないじゃないか。ね、ココ。
Listening to their cheerful laughter, I thought to myself, I should be going back to where I came from. As it began to fade, I heard only their happy voices behind me. Again, there's a lot of things wrong with that statement there. A lot of things wrong with that statement. So what would that make her? That make her Takushi's daughter and daughter-in-law? Is that what it would make her? Wait, daughter-in-law? Yeah, yeah, well they're not married, yeah. Hopefully,
だからお父さんって呼ぶな。じゃあパパ？パパもダメだ。なんでだよ。パパって呼べって言ったくせに。あれは口が滑っただけだ。ねえねえ、タケピョンタケピョン。なんだ？プップクプープップクプー。意味わかんねえよ。ねえお父さんお父さん。なんだよ。チュワチュワチュワチュワチュワ。お前もか。どうしたピピ？遠吠えかよ。タケピヨタケピヨ。呼び方変わってるし。ココちゃんのショートコント。もしもココちゃんが怪獣だったらガオーガオー。怪獣だとどうするどうするどうする。いろんなの壊しちゃうとガオー。終わっちゃったよ。おじいちゃんの息子、おばあちゃんの息子。紛らわしい。僕ちゃんのショートコント、もしも3年生になったら。3年生は最上級生なので忘れ物をしないように頑張りたいです。いつも分度器を忘れるので忘れないように頑張りたいです。
Wait, is that a joke?
三分だろそれは。頑張れよ。忘れんなよ。今度はなんだピピ。
She's in for a very confusing time.
また遠吠えだこれ。タケピョンタケピョン。なんだ今度
ことは。してなさい、永遠にしてなさいね。
お父さん、お母さん。
病棟になったの俺。思いつかねえなら呼ぶな。遠吠えだろどうせまた。短くなった短くなった。なんかちょっとすげえ。
タケピョンタケピョン。
だからなんだよ。
プップクプープップクプー。
戻っちゃったよ。
I said to leave as I was hearing their happy voices.
ちょっと待って、お兄ちゃん。
What?
またきっと会えるよね。絶対会えるの。
Oh wait,
必
maybe.
ず会えるの。
Okay, I think I know what she's saying. It's very confusing. I think she's saying that Hokuto is her brother and that Blake Winkle is her boyfriend. That's still very strange that they inhabit the same space. That doesn't make it any less strange, though. That probably makes it more strange. Yeah, that makes it more strange. But it makes more sense, sort of, in this universe. That universe.
ここ信じてるから。だってそうでしょ。こことお兄ちゃんは太陽星人なんだから。超能力を使えるんだからね。だからお兄ちゃんも信じて。こことお兄ちゃんの世界はしっかりと結ばれてるんだ。二つの世界が今は一つに。その結び目にあるのは視点。ここはいつまでもいつまでもお兄ちゃんと一緒だから。ほいじゃまたねお兄ちゃん。
Well, I had decided there for a little bit that this would be that would keep going until it ended, but looks like it's gonna be about right anyway. If you're having trouble reading this fast enough, positive marks, I'm gonna do the same thing. There you go. LeMU close. this. I'm gonna have to read that myself. The full timeline of the game, and it sounds like there's more people involved. I wonder if it has to do with Ever17. What was that guy's name? It was something like Tom something or other, right? Something involved with Ever17. Because I think it's involved. I think all three of the games are somehow intertwined. I mean, they can all stand apart, from what I can tell, but see, if they don't have to. They make, you know. So yeah, I think, you know, they can all stand apart, but together, you know, they make, so they all take place in the same world. I don't know. I'm gonna have to figure it out when I start playing Ever17. I have decided not to quite do yet. That will be probably at least when I see how it's ending. I think if you start off with Hockey, maybe you get that last ending unlocked, I think. So yeah. I don't know if there's anything after the credits here. It's gonna be 0 survivors now? Okay, we're not quite done yet, I guess. May the 7th, 2034. Sunday? Time, 11:17 a.m. Takushi Kurinari. I was in the center of a world of blue. Headed back to the mainland. There was nobody on the boat besides us. Me, Hokuto, Sugumi, UBC Harukana, Sora, Koko, Kabaraki, Chami, Pipi. Oh, and two girls named UBC Akikana, Tanaka, and Sarah Matsunaga. Hey, it's gonna be Sarah, well, might not be Sarah Kurinari, I don't know. Altogether, 9 people and 2 animals. I slept a short distance away from everyone and leaned over the deck railing to look out at the expanse of ocean before me. The May sun sparkled on the ocean. Hey, maybe this is actually Takushi ending. I don't know. High above, stretched a clear blue sky. The fresh new sky looked so glossy and vivid that it might spill down to earth at any moment. It was all that was reflected in my eyes. A straight line of the horizon stretched into the distance, dividing the sea from the heavens. It seems rather familiar, the way they have this. I murmured to myself. A solitary seagull traced a gentle arc in the sky as the wind carried it away. The wind, full of the smell of the ocean, gently blew by me. Felt as if I were dreaming. Everything that I saw in the scene before me was exactly as it had been 6 days earlier. 6 days and 17 years. 6 days earlier, for me, it had only been 6 days. Not even a week had passed. I got separated from my friends that day, and ended up waiting by myself for an elevator. But after surviving for 6 days, I had been sucked 17 years into the future. And... I found out that I had a 16-year-old daughter and son. It was a dream. Yeah, that's right, I must be dreaming. If I'm not dreaming, there's no way this could be happening. A girl called Sarah pulled up close to me. girl was wearing a high school uniform. I'd never seen her before. She suddenly pulled up close and pressed her cheek against my arm.
ほら見て見てこれ私ねちっちゃい頃からずーっとパパのこと見てたんだよ
Sarah stuck out a pendant with a mirror attached to it. On the other side, on the mirror side, there was nothing. But
そうかそうか。なんだかよくわからんが我が娘よ。
wait a second. I just thought of something. Way back when, didn't Takashi make a joke about... No, it wasn't Takashi. It was actually Tabaraki that made a joke about about her boyfriend being... That being a picture of her boyfriend and that it was him. That's a rather subtle joke. A joke so subtle, it took me many episodes to figure it out. Yeah. Well, awesome. I don't really understand, but... Oh. No, that's right. I'm not reading Takashi. Saying this, I stroked her hair. Since I had come this far, I decided there was no reason to hold back. Besides, all this was a dream. If I had a daughter to dispute, what did it matter anyway? There was no reason to resist the whole situation. And as I was thinking that...
お父さんずるいよ。パパってよくなってあんなに散々言ってたくせにどうしてサラのことだけ可愛がるの？
ねえパパ今度手裏剣村に連れて行ってほしいでござる。
手裏剣村か。いいでござるぞ。一緒に行こうでござる。こら無視すんな。なんでサラの言うことだけ全部受け入れるんだよ。どうして僕の言うことは聞いてくれないの？ねえなんで？どうしてなのお父さん。別に無視してるわけじゃないさ。ただそういう質問には答えたくないだけで。そういう質問？そうだ。俺は意味のない質問には答えないことにしたんだよ。
Oh man, that's just mean. Tsugumi Komachi.
俺は意味のない質問には答えないことにしたんだよ。
I could hear his words coming from... Fascinating. That's fascinating. I could hear his words coming from a distance, the same words I used to say 17 years ago. In order to protect myself from the strong face sunshine, I had stayed inside the boat. I could see the three of them through the window. Takashi was on the deck over by the railing, talking to the two kids. I don't answer meaningless questions. Yes, I always kept quiet whenever he had asked me something. There's so much I want to talk about. I want to tell him about every single day that had passed these long 17 years. But for the moment, watching him innocently playing with the children was enough for me. Everything that had happened up until that point was meaningless. He was there right in front of me, and the two children were right there. There was nothing more I could have hoped for. I found happiness. I was immersed in it, drowning in it, intoxicated by it. That was truly how I felt. It seemed to me that all the days filled with struggle and sadness had been for that day, that moment. Makoto and Sarah were on both sides of him, and even when he tried to throw them off, they clung to him. I absolutely petted Chammy, who was riding on my shoulder as I watched the scene before me. Him, Takashi Kurinari.
だったら生きろ。生きている限り生きろ。大丈夫。俺は死なない。
They're saying that he jumped from our taxi, that stupid man. Stupid man. But he had kept his promise. So there was something I had to tell him. Going outside wrapped in my 100% UV protective clothing, I walked over to where he was. For some reason, my legs were shaking and my heart was beating so hard it felt like it would burst. Being careful that he wouldn't notice the deep breaths I was taking, I went and stood in front of him.
おかえりなさい。
Suddenly he pulled me close, to his strong arms and solid chest. Strange thing to be reading here. His body was wrapped in a heat which threatened to melt me for one moment my heart had stopped beating.
ああ、ただいま、つぐみ。遅くなって悪かった。
He whispered.
それにしても相変わらず可愛いな、お前。
やめてよ。
いや、だってあまりにも可愛いからさ。
どうしちゃったのよ、いきなり。
可愛すぎて食べちゃいたいくらいだ。
やだ。何よ、なんでそんなこと。
This is awkward for the kids.
やっぱりお前はチャーミングだ。チャーミングだからチャミ。いい名前だね。
I forcefully pried myself away from Takashi's chest. His eyes were leveled at my shoulder. I looked over to see what he was staring at. Jamie was busy grooming himself with jerky movements using both of his front paws.
もうたけしのバカ。
Sarah Matsunaga.
たけしのバカ。
Mama let out a yell and, turning around, went back inside the boat, tail waggling. She moved unexpectedly, and Chammy, who had been riding on her shoulder, lost his balance and fell to the deck.
おーい、つぐみ、どうしたんだよ。
Dad went chasing after him, huh? Oh, he's already getting on her bad side. That's... A series of frightful sounds ensued. It's only been a full family song, and they're already having domestic violence. How lovely. I looked over to the other side of the window and could see Mama wildly brandishing the heads of the costume she'd been wearing. Why do they keep saying costume? Okay. Fascinating. Is that why she was... Because of the sun, is that why she was wearing that costume? That's... Fascinating reason. She'd had on one of the lemur fox monkey costumes in order to stay out of the sun. I see Father's back as he was desperately trying to calm Mother down. To be honest, I would think Sugumi would take a little bit more subtle approach to disguise, to keep out of the sun, you know, rather than walking around in a lemur costume, you know. I mean, heck, you know what? One of them, like, let me get the third reference to Star Wars. I'm kind of one of them Jedi folks. I haven't watched Star Wars in a while. I don't know why I'm suddenly... Why, that's the thing I think of the most. What I'm thinking of the most right now. Okuta and I looked at each other and started laughing. And Chammy, he was calmly acting as if nothing had happened and just continued cleaning himself. I leaned down to put Chammy in my palm and stood back up. Mom had already told me about this little hamster's ordeal. When I thought about how Chammy had lived through the same circumstances we had, it made my heart warm. I could feel the beating of his tiny heart in my palm. His heartbeat was tiny but consistent. It goes without saying, but I thought to myself, Chammy is living each moment to the fullest.
私たちこれからどうなっちゃうのかな。
どうなっちゃうって？
ライプリヒにまたライプリヒに捕まっちゃうんじゃ。大丈夫よサラ、心配しないで。
Someone was talking to us. Looking around, I saw.
ナッケ先輩じゃなかった。田中先生、優美生はるかなさんでしたよね。
Miss Tanaka nodded slightly. Okuto asked Miss Tanaka.
大丈夫ってどういうことなの？
こういうことよ。
Saying that, she took out the newspaper that had been tucked into her pocket and handed it to my brother. He opened it up, nestled up against his shoulder, and looked at the front page headline. L'Oblique Pharmaceutical responsible for the outbreak of TF-Flau virus. Compulsory investigation to begin in a day or two. It was learned that the TF-Flau virus, which had ravaged the world since 2017, was manufactured by the Frankfurt-based pharmaceutical giant LeMU Pharmaceutical. When a whistleblower from the Japanese-German joint managed research facility came forward earlier this week. Spurred by these allegations, the Metropolitan Police Department is expected to open a criminal investigation that will focus on LeMU's branch offices as well as related research facilities. LeMU Pharmaceutical has for some time been conducting research and development of TB for the purpose of manufacturing a biological weapon. An outbreak of the virus is rumored to have occurred in their research facility around May 1st, 2017. LeMU not only sought to cover up the accident, but also continued research into TB without the authorization of the Ministry of Health, under conditions of extreme secrecy, according to the whistleblower. The location of the company's research institute has not yet been confirmed. Numerous other doubts involving LeMU, including charges that it wrongfully detained citizens for the purpose of human experiments, have been raised and are to be investigated. In order to fully uncover the facts behind these allegations and reported incident, the Metropolitan Police Department is requesting cooperation from authorities in Germany, where LeMU's head office is located.
ライプリヒ製薬の影響力は国家権力にまで深く浸透してるから。まあ、いろいろと根回しは大変だったんだけど。
I really don't know how much longer this is. Like I said, I'm going to keep rolling with it till it ends. Hopefully it's not going to be over an hour. Miss Tanaka took out a no marker and scratched it against her cheek, but it probably will be. Oh my gosh, not the marker.
書いてあるライブコメントした人っていうのは
そう、私。本当はマスコミや警察にリークしたのはだいぶ前なんだけどね。でも裏でコソコソっと取引みたいなことをして、今日5月7日になるまでは絶対に何があっても動かないでってそう言っといたの。パパとあのココちゃんっていう女の子を助けるために。そういうこと。じゃあもう私たち追いかけられずに済むんだ。自由になったんだ。
It's glad that the Hurrah has that much maneuvering, you know. Because if I had information about something like that, and I would be like, but wait until this specific point in time to move, because of this reason right here, you know, or I don't know what reason she gave them, but maybe it was an ultimatum. She's like, I won't tell you this information unless you do this. I mean, that would make sense, I guess. But yeah, normally something like, you know, the police would not do you a favor and wait to a specific time to apprehend a criminal, you know? Which I'm not saying is a bad idea, you know. If you have a criminal that's there, you know, it's probably a good idea to get them in, you know, otherwise he could get away, you know. Miss Tanaka smiled kindly. It worked good for this situation, though, obviously. Just saying.
心配しなくてもいい？何よそれ。よくそんなこと言えるよね。お母さん、誰に向かって言ってるのか分かってるの？いや。ナヨが今までどれほど辛い思いをしてきたのか、お母さん考えたことあるの？ちょっとお母さん、一緒に来て。話があるの。
You can say Tanaka. Saying that, my daughter tugged firmly on my arm and held me and led me over to a corner of the deck.
話って何？言わなくても分かってるでしょ。お母さんは2025年にLeMUで働き始めた。第三視点を研究するために。本当のクラナのテキスト、あのココっていう女の子を救うために。だったらどうしてなの？LeMUで働いてたんならライプリヒの施設に監禁されてたマヨを助け出すことだってできたでしょ。つぐみと子供たちを会わせてあげることだってできたでしょ。なのにどうして？それは
It had to be done to save Takushi and Coco. We didn't dare to change history, because I had made a promise to Blick Winkle in 2017.
何も教えてくれないのね。いつもさ、自分一人で勝手に何でも決めちゃって。でもこの一件が起きる前に説明したところで、ユウは聞いて信じてくれなかったでしょ。だからって騙すなんてひどいよ。今まで18年間私は騙され続けてきたんだよ。
Yes, I have, and there is nothing I can say to apologize.
嘘はつかないで、隠さないで、全部をしっかり私に言ってないことあるんでしょ。本当のお父さんのこと、お母さんのこと聞かせて、お願いだから。
I didn't hesitate. I told her about her father Yoichi and mother Yuki. I told her the truth, all of it. May the 6th, 2017. Because Coco was sick, we had all headed to the IBF research lab. While Takushi, the young Kaburaki, and Sugumi were searching around the research facility, I stayed behind in the examination room. Coco and the researcher were lying in the capsule pods. The researcher, who was fighting to stay conscious as the virus consumed his body, told me this. That's right, he was my father, YT Yoichi Tanaka. As he was lying there in agony, he explained to me what had happened. 2000 AD, my father was a researcher on the LeMU development project. One day, by accident, he discovered that LeBleak was developing the TB virus. TB is a potent virus which has an exceedingly high mortality rate, and LeBleak was planning to sell it to military buyers around the world. Father, whose sense of justice was stronger than anyone I have ever known, appealed to the company to stop development of the virus immediately. But of course they refused. That being the case, my father made up his mind. He hacked into the highly protected company database, collected evidence, and prepared to leak the information to the press. However, LeBleak found out before he could make his move and put him in a situation he could not escape. They threatened my father, telling him, should you escape from here, your wife and child will probably die in an unfortunate car accident. That's bad. And to my mother, Yuki, LeBleak said, your husband is missing after a highly tragic accident. When making his rounds on the LeMU premises, he slipped and fell into the ocean. We're doing everything we can to search the surrounding waters, but his remains still have not been located. My mother believed him. It was the summer of my first year. Time passed and it was the year 2017. My father, who had been maintaining the computer system for IBF, was caught up in the TB outbreak. As all of the researchers fled one by one, my father stayed in IBF because he was worried about me. My father knew that I was working at LeMU, and my father, right in front of my eyes, after enduring one disaster after another and gasping in pain, while clawing at his throat, he struggled until the end to say, he was saying to his daughter. Take care of who? Sora? I don't know. His last words. Coco? I don't know. Oh! The most obvious answer. Akikana. And the press only reported that it was a deadly virus of unknown origin. Even the experts had no idea where the disease really came from. However, the incubation period was very short, so even though the death rate was high, in many cases the carrier died before infecting others. So while the TB virus spread rapidly for a time, by 2019, 2 years after the accident, the pace and scale of the disease's destruction gradually waned. That doesn't mean they weren't victims. The number of people that the virus killed is said to have reached several tens of thousands. And one of them was my mother, Yuki. 15 years ago that my mother caught TV and it robbed her of her life. My sadness, anger, and hatred all came together. Then I swore that I would get revenge on Oblique. I infiltrated LeMU and at the same time started formulating a plan to rescue Takashi and Koko, who were trapped in a research facility. The person who helped me to do that was Ryogo Kaburaki. I've spent every moment for the last 17 years preparing for this. Yes, it was the only thing that I've lived for until now. I think I need to go and cut it. I feel like this is going too long. I mean, it's at 55 minutes. This is too long of a video, really. I'll wait until they cut to the next person. To make Oblique pay for taking my mother and father from me, and to save my friends Takashi and Koko. In order to do that, we needed to discover the third eye Blick Winkle. Without his help, there was nothing we could do. There was no other way that we, who were living in this dimension, could go back in time. That was how the whole plan had been set in motion, all toward May the 1st, 2034. After finishing my explanation, I let out a big sigh. Biting on the nail of her thumb, my daughter looked up at the sky. She looked at me. I reached out to stroke her hair. She stared at me blankly, looking just like I did 17 years ago. Reckless, full of fire, pure to the point of being dangerous and unable to control her emotions. Her innocent eyes had seen none of the evil and corruption of this world. Looking into her eyes, I could read everything she was thinking. She wasn't mad, she wasn't unhappy, just afraid to accept the truth. She didn't know how to handle it, was scared and embarrassed by that fact. So I reached out and held her closely. There's no need for you to say anything, I thought, just quietly to myself. She whispered this quietly in my ear. I laughed without thinking and replied, okay, I'm cutting here. I don't think I can sit in this uncomfortable chair for any longer. Depending on how the next one will probably, well, it won't be the last episode, but it'll probably be the last one in this thing, depending on the length. So, yeah, pretty happy ending. I'm glad I was worried there that they might not show Takashi and Tsugumi's reunion. That's one thing that I was hoping to see, you know, how that turned out. Cause I thought probably her ending is probably my favorite one. Cause I don't know, it's the first ending I got, and it was I just like how Takashi chose, you know, Takashi's decision there, you know. The story ending was kind of no, I wouldn't want to say pointless, but the ending with her, you know, with him deciding to, you know, go out the thing, I thought that was pretty badass. So in a way, so yeah. I've been talking 59 freaking minutes. Okay, yeah, this is the end of this episode. I do hope you folks enjoyed, and the next episode will be the last one of this arc, so you can see the true ending, and then I will see what's left then, whether or not to continue the Let's Play. All this prologue, I mean, prologue? Oh my gosh, if this is a prologue, this game would take years. The epilogue, I should say, if this epilogue counts kind of like Hugh's ending, where you see it a little bit afterwards, and that's what knocks the two endings out. That's what this is, and this is almost about done. So there might not be very much left. If there is that much left as compared as what it was. So yeah, next episode we'll find out what's left and move on from there. So Do hope you folks enjoyed, and shall see you in the next one. Farewell there.